I shouldn't have gone to see her. I knew better. That's what I kept telling myself. But grief makes you do reckless things, things you never imagined yourself doing. And the silence and unspoken words made it hard for me to go on. I thought if I could hear his voice one last time, I would finally get the closure I needed. So I found her, the medium everyone whispered about. The shadowy room smelled of incense and had a looming eeriness which sent shivers up my spine. Crystals and candles lined the shelves. Their light trembled like they were afraid of what was coming. On our initial phone call, she told me to bring something that belonged to Marcus so she could tune into his energy. I brought the silver chain I gifted him on our first anniversary. He loved that thing. It wasn't the most expensive or the most flashy, but it marked a time in our lives when we were embarking on our new journey away from home. I saved up a chunk of my wages to buy it, and he rarely took it off. Per her request, I held it in my hands in the middle of the table. She sat across from me, eyes closed. Her hands hovered above the chain. For a moment, nothing happened, but then her breathing began to increase, and her face kinda contorted. She looked like she was in physical pain. Then she said it.
I see him, but he won't come closer. He wants to be left alone. He doesn't want you calling on him.
I reached for her hand as if I could force the connection, but she pulled her hand away as if it burned.
He blames you for what happened. You must leave him for now.
I felt the room tilt and almost lost it. My nails dug into the chain. I silently shook my head in disbelief, but deep down I knew it was true. The guilt I was trying to avoid had a firm grip over my throat, and I couldn't help but let out a scream as I cried. I couldn't quite grasp that the man I loved harbored hatred for me, even after his death. Surely he knew I wouldn't hurt him on purpose. But as I'm finding out, what he loved about me most was also the thing that broke us. My compassion. The medium's eyes snapped open, wide and afraid. The candles blew out, and in the darkness I heard his voice.
You betrayed me.
A scream caught in my throat, and the chain burned in my palm as if Marcus himself was clawing through it. I hastily dropped it on the table, cut the session short, not quite ready to hear anything else, and ran out of the building shaking and sobbing. That night, alone in my apartment, I heard his voice again.
How could you do this to me?
Days went by, and I found myself stuck in a constant loop of that last month with Marcus. Like most couples, the rundown of our workday was the typical conversation, and I admit, we did cross some lines discussing company business. We trusted each other and always sought each other's guidance to figure out what our next step should be in whatever work dilemma we were dealing with. One night, he came home particularly stressed. A well-known beauty company was covering up the fact that 4 women were fighting for their lives in hospital due to an infection caused by non-regulated chemicals used in their newest products. They quietly gave each woman a small settlement, but they were essentially silenced with an NDA, told if they said anything they'd be sued, big time. They didn't want to recall the batch that went out because they weren't willing to lose out on the money they spent manufacturing it. In their minds, only 4 out of thousands became ill, and they were willing to take the risk. I was in shock to say the least. This company was social media's latest craze, praised by influencers all over the world. Marcus's jaw was clenched.
Neurological damage, flesh-eating infections, all sorts of horrible side effects. They knew about it before it was even sent to stores. Employees pointed out anomalies with the lab tests, but they were silenced. The execs buried it all and decided to go ahead with the launch because they wanted to put it out before their competitors. There's currently 4 women in the hospital, but there could be more out there dealing with side effects, not knowing what the cause was. I still don't know how I'm going to move forward with this, but in the meantime, promise me, you won't tell a soul.
I promised him. But promises are fragile things. Weeks later, I was at a friend's house, and there it was on her bathroom counter. I could see she hadn't used much, but I damn sure wasn't going to let her continue using it when I knew the risks. This wasn't some abstract thing anymore. It was right here in front of me, on my best friend's bathroom counter, and I had to make a decision, fast. If I took it, she'd just think she misplaced it and would buy more. I had no choice but to say something. I left the bathroom. My chest was tight. Lanie, this serum, it's not safe.
What do you mean? It's highly recommended. Look at this glow.
I'm serious. I shouldn't even be saying anything, but I couldn't leave here knowing it's in your bathroom and not tell you. So, you know Marcus is on the ethics committee at his firm. This company is one of the clients, and he's seen documentation of banned chemicals used in this serum. They know it causes terrible side effects, but they continue to shop it anyway. 4 women that they know of are fighting for their lives right now. I looked at her intensely, panicked and hoping she believed me. But her doubt and constant questioning turned into a loaded gun, and I started laying out everything else so she knew I wasn't playing. I mentioned the lab reports, the anomalies, and every other receipt I could remember.
If it's true.
It is true.
My sister's been using this stuff for months. I have to tell her.
And that was it. The spark had left my mouth, and I couldn't take it back.
The rumor spread faster than I could have imagined. Lanie's sister told her book club. The next day, a TikTok video made the rounds. Comments flooded in. I watched for the most part, but I couldn't help reply to a few skeptics from my Finsta, giving legitimacy to the claims with the details I was privy to. And that was the breadcrumb that led them straight to Marcus.
One evening, he came home livid. His voice was shaking. I'd never seen him this scared.
Do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've done?
He stopped yelling to gather his thoughts, and with each passing second, my heart raced faster and faster.
Do you think because you used an anonymous account, your IP couldn't be traced? You practically drew them a map. I told you everything in confidence because I thought I could trust you. But you're underneath TikTok videos talking about you know someone who works at the company, so they know that I'm the one who told you.
Marcus, I'm so...
Only a handful of us had access to the non-redacted files. It didn't take them too long to make the connection between the address of the fake account and me. I will never trust you again.
Marcus, wait! Let me explain. I couldn't let Lanie continue to use the thing. I saw it in her bathroom and I panicked. How was I going to stay quiet? As soon as I knew it, it made its way online. Marcus began packing a suitcase. I tried to stop him, begging him to hear me out. I couldn't let her be the next casualty.
And what about me? Were you thinking about me in any of this?
Of course I was!
They could kill me, Emmy.
I tried to ease his concerns, dismissing the idea that it would ever get that far. 2 nights later, he didn't come home. I tried calling him. His phone was off. By the 18th call, my worry had shifted into panic. I called his mom. She hadn't heard anything. I called his brother. He too was in the dark. I paced the living room, glancing at the door every few seconds, hoping he'd walk in and put an end to this dread. My thoughts circled through every possibility, each one worse than the last. This wasn't like him. It was the knock on the door that broke me. 2 officers stood on the porch, their faces drawn and their eyes already telling me what their mouths had yet to say. My legs weakened before the words even came out. He had been found by a maintenance worker earlier that morning by a riverbank. No signs of struggle, no explanation, just a body in the half-light of dawn discovered in a place he had no reason to be. The officers' voices droned on. I caught fragments but was zoned out by that point. Something in me rebelled against their calm assurances. He never strayed far from routine. The company silenced him, and I handed him to them. The days that followed blurred into one another. A haze of condolences, paperwork, and half-whispered explanations. Everyone told me to rest, let the police handle it. But I knew him. He wouldn't have wandered to a random riverbank in the middle of the night. Early one morning, I went for a drive. No place in mind, I just needed to get out of those suffocating 4 walls. I found myself at the riverbank, trying to imagine what could have happened. Suddenly, my eyes caught something half buried in the dirt just a few feet away. The corner of a torn receipt, soggy and almost unreadable. It was smudged, but I could make out the name of a bar. I tucked the receipt into my pocket, my pulse racing. The police had missed it, or ignored it. Either way, I couldn't rely on them anymore. If I wanted answers, I would have to chase them myself. I retraced his last steps, visiting this shady-looking bar, my phone on record, a shaky attempt at gathering proof. I showed his picture to the bartender, but each question was met with an evasive answer, as if rehearsed. I got the sense that every eye in the room had been tracking me, so I quickly left. That night, a notification pinged my phone. It was my Finsta. Nobody knew of this account, except for Marcus and, of course, the company. It was a new message from an account with no profile picture, no followers, just words that froze me in place. Stop looking. Last warning. It was then I understood how much danger I was actually in. I left town shortly after. I carried that weight into the medium's candlelit room, desperately hoping he was at peace. But hearing of his anger split me open. Now, I live with that void. The bar receipt and a printed page of the DM sits meaninglessly in a box buried at the back of my closet. As of right now, I don't see any chance of absolution.